What is good, guys? This is Ronald Kabang, also known as Youcapper from Sportsmemo.com. This is episode 2 of Let's Cap. Y'all see who I'm rocking with today? This guy's a straight legend. Killed the NBA this season. Man, no, nobody like him right now. No one's as fire as this guy right now. Jay Money is money. What's good, Jay? How you feeling today? You ready to get some cash?
What's up, my brother? Yeah, I'm always ready to get some cash, man. Still a little hot from yesterday, but it happens. I never like losing, guys. So maybe that's why, like a lot of people really like my competitiveness. I'm really passionate about everything that I do. I never like to lose. I'm always trying to cash, man. That's the main thing right there. We're trying to get some cash. Us against the books. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
against the Bucks, yeah, for real, man. But real quick before we get into it, I just want to run through what we got going for today. We got some stuff to get off our chest here. I just want to talk a little bit, obviously, about the MLB on my side. I don't know if Jay, if you want to go off on a little rant or whatever, up to you. But then after that, I want to talk about what I learned yesterday, more specifically, what I learned about the Milwaukee Bucks. Then we're gonna cap 2 games: Sixers versus Heat, Mavs versus Suns. And I also have a prop bet that I want to talk about. But that's going to be the show. We don't have a UCAP and Capper today. Maybe tomorrow. I think some people have been sending me some videos for tomorrow. I might see one that I like, so I'll post one tomorrow. But before we get into to sound off and what we learned yesterday, Jay, I do have a quick question. If you don't mind, most of the viewers will probably know who you are already because I've been on your show. You kind of put me in a position to really do this thing here. I mean, you're one of the people who influenced me to be able to do my own show and stuff like that. But when we're talking about NBA, everyone's noticed that you've been so successful in the NBA this season as far as betting goes. Is there something this season that's different from previous years that you've done in your capping process that made you so successful this year, or is there something specifically in the NBA that happened or caught your attention that you've kind of just been taking advantage of?
Yeah, I would say one main thing is trends. I kind of find certain trends, and it's all patterns, right? Always the kind of what I really start to develop over the this past year. The trend is your friend, so not every single trend will obviously come to fruition, but I just like to follow patterns, and obviously we're trying to win more than we lose. So I start to look at certain trends, see how these newer guys play. Most people that know me, I like when it was real basketball, the '90s, early 2000s, where guys were super passionate about it. They weren't necessarily getting paid 30, 40 million dollars a year. Obviously now you may have some guys that once they get their payday, they may not be as locked in as some of the younger guys that hadn't got paid yet. So that's one of the main things that I'm realizing. Obviously, over the past couple of years, I started to notice that the revenge spots really hold a lot of weight because it's all about motivation, right? You want to take the more motivated team, especially over the course of the regular season where guys aren't motivated every single day. So it's all about motivation for me, my guy. Looking at the trends, motivation, revenge spots. Not every single revenge spot will cash, but for the most part, I'm just trying to find the more motivated team, and it's been cashing nice for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You talk about motivation and the trends and stuff, and when we talk about trends too, because obviously I like trends too. That's a lot of the capping process that I do. But you always want to make sure that it makes sense in that specific spot as well. Like you can't take random trends and just say, oh well, this team is 15-0 on this spot, but at the same time, you got to look behind the trends too. You want to make sure why is it going this way. And stuff. Basically, if you understand the why of why you're betting, then that trend makes sense. If that you know what I mean. So that I love it. I love what you just mentioned there about the trends and motivation. A lot of people don't think about that stuff, right? Like
Hmm.
especially the new cappers that come into this game, because when we look at Twitter and we see what these cappers posts and all that stuff, a lot of it is just numbers and trends, but with no reason. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the cappers out here, they just give out free picks. And when people lose on those free picks, they get mad. Well, it's
Hmm.
kind of your fault because you don't understand the reason why. If
Right.
you understand that capper's reason why and it makes sense to you, that's your decision to
Exactly.
really uh, play or fade that play. You know what I mean? So that's my thing here. I mean, that's sort of like my little sound off, my little rant. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of the guys here that we see on Twitter that just post plays and yeah, for example, right? We look at someone, the guy that one of our guys, Shark, is
Mm-hmm.
one example here. What they see on Twitter as far as just like a free pick, that's what they see. They don't go and listen to the videos that he's on with you and with you on your
Right.
show. He has the analysis, he has all that stuff broken down, and obviously it makes sense, right? It makes sense to us, and that's why we typically have the same views and same picks on these games.
Right.
But what people on Twitter only see is just his name and the pick, and if that loses, and it happens to you too sometimes, and me, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
all they see is the surface. They don't see the details behind it, and that's what, to me, this is what I want the show to be about, is more about, like, not just the free picks, but the why. We want to educate the people on how to tell cappers, how to understand the capping process, and that's for me. That's my purpose of this show. Really, it's not just free picks and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I'm with
that's
you.
yeah. So that's my sound off. That's my rant. I know you had a little bit to get off your chest with the yesterday's game. It's up to you if you want to say something, but you
Yeah,
know that's
no,
the
it's
start.
not. It's nothing to get off my chest. I mean, yesterday is yesterday. I never really recap just because I can't change yesterday, right? But I can change
Yeah.
something about today. It's about looking ahead. But yesterday, obviously, Clay missed some free throws. Personally, I had the Warriors on the money line, but I did have more money on the spread, so I still lost
Mhm.
out. Still pissed off, but especially when you see them up 10 late. But it happens, right? It's just tough because it's a lot of people lost a lot of different ways. If you had Grizzlies
Mhm.
money line as well, and you didn't take the points, you were being greedy. You're pissed off as well because you know what I'm saying. You're like, damn, I probably took the points, I would have cashed. So, but
Yeah.
yesterday's yesterday. Can't cry over spoiled milk. I'm always
Mhm.
trying to get some cash today.
Yes, sir. So yeah, on that note, I just want to talk real quick about what I learned yesterday too. I mean, I was watching that Bucks game here, and thinking about a lot of the things that I talked about the Bucks during the regular season as well. Like, I was always saying, like, the loss of PJ Tucker was super important to this team and it affected their defense and all that stuff. But I think what I've seen so far in the playoffs is, I feel like the Bucks fooled me into thinking that their defense wasn't as great as it was last year. They finished the season 14th in defensive rating. So far in the playoffs, they're number one in defensive rating by margin. Like, Miami Heat is the second best team in defensive rating, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a 10.6 point gap there. Yeah, I think it really partially due to who they faced in the first round. Obviously, the Bulls, their offense has been lacking, but the Boston Celtics were number one in offensive rating post All-Star break, and the Bucks just limited them to 89 points yesterday. And yeah, in the first 6 games of the NBA playoffs too, the Bucks playoff games, all 6 games went under the closing total, and they've only allowed over 100 points in one game. That was game two against the Bulls. I mean, to me, I think the biggest thing I learned about the Bucks is maybe they didn't really care during the regular season to play defense because they knew they could just outscore these teams. Now that it matters, their defense is showing up. So I think, I mean, they still got it defensively even without PJ Tucker. I thought he was going to be a big loss for them, but they showed me something different yesterday. What is your thought on that, Jay?
Yeah, I don't. I still don't. I'm still not a believer in the Bucks. I know a lot of people think. I don't think they'll get past the Celtics here. I think that game was more on the Celtics. Like, I'm with you. I still think that the loss of PJ Tucker at some point is going to come back to bite them. I don't like Wesley Matthews is not PJ Tucker, right? I think that game was more on the Celtics not being ready. They just come off an easy series versus the Nets, so I think we'll see a much different game the next game. Put the Bucks back in their place.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. They kind of stole that game. I did a series preview, and I said this game was going to go 7 games, and I didn't even know who was going to win, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, this series is definitely going to be a dogfight, man. And so, on that note, let's talk about these two NBA games coming up today. We have the first up 76ers and the Heat. Sixers are 7.5 point dogs. Totals at 208.5. I think the biggest news here, obviously, is Embiid is officially out for the Sixers. Miami has like a laundry list of people on their injury report: Butler, Tucker, Martin, Strus, Harrell, all game time decisions. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, I know Butler's playing for sure. I think all of these guys have played, man. It's enough for the BS, right? We had a game in the Heat versus the Sixers where Embiid and Harden sat out the game. The Heat were up in that game and tanked it away. Now, who knows what happens, you know what I'm saying, up under the table in that game regardless. That was regular season. This is the time for the playoffs now. And Joel Embiid being out actually matters here. If you were quick on it, if you really do this, if you're locked in, you possibly could have got the Heat there, maybe, you know what I'm saying, minus the 4 when the Joel Embiid news came out. You got a couple of minutes. That's it. You got to be locked in on it, man. But it was 4s out there, money line minus 175. It's went up to 7.5. I still like it. My money isn't on the 7.5, but I still think this is one where the Heat shouldn't come out here playing around. Like I say, I already think that they were much better than the Sixers already, much better coaching, better defense as well. And then without their best player, the MVP of the league, yeah, it matters. And 3.5 may not be enough, but we can't forget that Lowry is out for the Heat. That's going to take its toll, but I still think their defense is far and above higher than the Sixers. And without their best player, I say Harden, I don't think he has enough here. So I'd be looking at Heat early and often, like the Heat here, Smack City spot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I like that too. I mean, this is obviously it's tough because you always have that theory behind your in the back of my mind. You know, the whole star player injured theory. The first game that he's out, but really a lot of the trends are going towards the Heat here. 14-2 straight up, 11-5 against the spread as the home favorites in conference games against teams with a winning record. So we're looking at how they do, how they bless you, man, how they do. How they do against playoff record teams, right? Playoff contention teams. And then if you go a little bit further, 8-3 straight up and against the spread when they're more rested. And then 7-3 straight up and against the spread with at least 2 days of rest against teams with a winning record. So they play up against their opponents. And to me, right now, it is tough. I mean, obviously, Embiid is such a big a piece of that offense. Philly's probably going to play some small ball here, but Miami has the versatility to play both small ball and play against a big like Embiid. So to me, I'm with you. I feel like this is a spot where we take the Heat here. So for me, like I said, early and often, like you said, Heat here. I haven't made it official yet because I just want to make sure that these guys are in. Just because I haven't seen anything as far as probable or likely to play. All of the statuses have been questionable, so I feel like they're all going to play, but I still just want to wait a little bit to see the official status of these guys. So next up we got Dallas and Phoenix. Look at it.
Hey, when I got the hat on, the hat too.
We got Dallas and Phoenix here. Now, you know, I think one of the biggest things to me to think about here is Phoenix went 3-0 straight up against these guys in the regular season against these Mavs, but all of those games were prior to the trade deadline. So I mean, obviously the Mavs are showed out against Jazz in round one. You think the Mavs can continue the way that they played against against the Jazz, against a Suns team that has like a better team chemistry and a better defense? What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, you nailed it. They definitely have a better team defense, a better chemistry. But the Mavs still, they're gonna be pissed, man. The Suns have basically owned them of late, right? And it's you get that dynamic of everyone thinks it's gonna be easy. You see what I'm saying for the Suns, but the line is going the other way. I hadn't seen anyone on the Mavs, wrong to be honest with you. So I did bet this game a few days ago, but like I say, with us losing 9 straight to the Suns, on one end you got to say, okay, the Suns own the Mavs, right? But on the other end, you got to say, this is some you say, Ron, like, what if I started to notice? You always, I just want to say real quick, you always got to be open to learn more. Always never think that you know too much. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm just telling you how I think, because there's always new things to learn. And one thing I'm starting to learn is when two teams match up, right, in the game in the regular season, and one team owns them, I take you to the Bucks versus the Bulls. Then when that game one and they end up matching off in the playoffs, that game one is huge for the team that's been owned, right? Because they really need to come out and say, for their own selves, for their own mental process. You know what I'm saying? They need to come out there and have a good showing versus their team, because you're going to have a whole 7-game series versus them. you don't want to get smacked up by 20 points in the first game. Then you're really going to be down on yourself. Your confidence is going to be crushed already. Yeah, they really do own us, even in the playoffs as well. But you really have a chance to switch that, to flip that narrative, and possibly come out there and smack them the game one. So I did take the Mavs plus the 6 earlier. It's a smaller play for me. Like it's very small compared to what I usually bet, but I do have the Mavs plus the 6 today. And I think that they have a chance to keep this game close, keep it within 3 or 4 points here, Ronald. But that's my angle on the game. I'm going with the team that's been owned during the regular season. I'm taking them game 1 of the playoff series if the two match up, and we cashed with the Bulls as well versus the Bucks. Right, that was one of the only games that they did cover or win in that series. So
I think that was game 2 of that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For me, it's tough because obviously I think we both cashed a lot on the Mavs in the first round, right? For me, I think it's a little bit different just because they play. It's tough, right? Because Mavs looked way better than they are playing a Jazz team who had no real team chemistry now, and they had a tough time scoring against a team like that. Who, the Jazz, they were 10th in defensive rating in the regular season, right? And then they come into the playoffs with a lower morale. So that affected both their offense and defense. Mavs took advantage of that. Suns, really, they're on the opposite side here. They're completely healthy, well coached. Everyone knows their role and they play it well. And they finished the regular season 3rd in defensive rating. And they like each other. Like, they want to play with each other. That affects the play on the court. The Mavs struggled against the Jazz like that. It's for me, it's tough to see how they would do against a Suns team. I want to see how they do against each other as far as like spread goes, right? Because obviously the Suns dominated the regular season. Spread here is at 6 points. It's a little close for me to what I like. But as far as the total, I know you don't mess with totals much, but what I'm getting at is the under. I like the under in this game because of just the style of play, right? These two teams, game 1, getting used to each other. They didn't play the same rosters. The Suns aren't playing the same roster as they did in the regular season, so they got to get used to that. And Mavs offensively, they struggled in first round. I feel like they're going to struggle here a little bit, but their defense is just as solid in this first round. Like, they limited Utah tremendously. Like, you would have thought the Jazz would come into this series scoring over 100 points per game. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that at all. And I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring game, especially early on in the series as they get used to each other. So my look here is towards the under in this game. I think, let me look at where the total is at right now. I think it moved 2 points up, 2.5 points. Yeah, so it went 2.5 points up. To me, I feel like it's more of a defensive game, and the pace of play is going to be a little bit different as well. So I'm looking towards the under here, under 214.5. That would be the look that I would have here. As far as the spread goes, though, I feel like this is one that I just want to watch here. I get what you're saying with the Mavs. The other thing to note, if we're talking about trends too, revenge. If we're looking at revenge theory, I know that's one of your spots there. Revenge theory. The Mavs were one of the best teams in revenge spots during the whole regular season. Let me bring that up here. 12-3 straight up, 13-2 against the spread, following a previous matchup loss against teams with a winning record. So that's one thing to note here on the Mavs side. If you like the Mavs and you like that revenge spot, they are really spot on in those situations, especially against the spread. So that's that there. Any last words for that game or?
No, that's it for me. Like I say, it's nothing heavy for me, but that's my angle, and I'll take it every single time. Obviously, I'm a big Mavs fan. They've put so much money in my pocket, man. It doesn't make any sense, man. Like, I'll be honest with you, but I do think that I think the Suns win this game by 3 to 4 points. They still win. I like the under as well. I'm surprised that it's going up, but I do think this will be an under type of game, and people steady disrespecting the Mavs. And one more time, what was that? The stat 12-3 against the spread. What was that?
Yeah, for the revenge spot on the Mavs, it's 12-3 straight up, 13-2 against the spread. I love it. In revenge spots against teams with a winning record, so they play up to their opponent in these spots.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the prop section here. Obviously, I was looking towards that under here, and this play that I have for the prop kind of goes with it. I'm looking at Jalen Brunson under 19.5 points here. He has in the 3 games that they played in the regular season, obviously it's a different roster, different makeup for the Mavs here because they were all prior to the trade deadline. But in the 3 games during the regular season, he failed to go over this number in all 3 games. And then we look at how he did against Utah in the first round. He scored 23 or more in every single game during that season, during that series. And for it to open up at this number here at a lower number, it's kind of just telling to me that it's likely he's going to score around 15 to 17 points here. And they're going to have to rely obviously on Luka and some of the other guys, like Finney Smith, like he did in that last game. He came up big in the closeout game there. So some guys like that. So he might be more of a distributor in this game, but I still feel like he can get 15 to 17. CP is just built differently than Conley or anyone else Utah threw at Brunson. So it's just a different style of play here. And I feel like it's going to go towards the under. I feel like Brunson is also going to go towards the under in his points prop, under 19.5. I think that's just a little bit too high. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like the Mavs, so and I think that Brunson, Luka, and Dinwiddie will be the main sources of offense. Dinwiddie, they'll probably put Bridges or somebody on Luka. You can't put Chris Paul on Luka because Chris Paul can't get in foul trouble. You see what I'm saying? He's a starting point guard. He's going to be closing out the game, and I would hope that Chris Paul's not on Jalen Brunson as well. I think Jalen Brunson, I'm talking about for the sake of your under. I think Jalen Brunson would abuse Chris Paul. I would be interested to see who they guard him. They game 1 or the playoffs, and that's why I'm not telling people to take the Mavs. Game 1 is the hardest one to predict. You know what I'm saying? It's a filling out process for both teams. So the way that Brunson's playing, I don't know. It's just me, Ronald.
Yeah.
I know you went through deeper analysis with the play. So, I mean, I didn't, but just the way that he's playing, I wouldn't take an under prop for him.
Yeah, no, to me, it just makes sense because of, we always talk about line functionality, right? As far as the game goes, I think that goes with props as well. I mean, like if you think about it, he scored 23 plus in all 6 games in round 1. Now they bring it down to 19.5. I think it's more of a gameplay. I'm not saying that he's not going to be one of the top scorers for the Mavs, but I also see this being a full game under. So it all makes sense to me. 19, he can have 19 because he hit 18 twice and 19 in the last matchup. So it's just that number that I'm seeing here that is pointing me towards the under. I mean, to me, it did a lot of the lines are just making sense for me to take the under. But yeah, I mean, like it makes sense to me. You don't have to like it, but you make a lot of sense with the CP defense because I thought it was a little bit different. I thought CP is a little bit more physical defensively, as far more physical than Conley is for sure.
Not for real.
Dude. Yeah,
he is. So, no, CP3 is a much better. Like I said, I don't talk you unless I bet the over. Don't let me talk you off, man. Because you went in all honesty. But and I like what you said. You like the under in the game, so you like it to be a slower paced game. And so you know what I'm saying. It definitely is correlated with some under props there. So I like what you dig. What I'm saying, I dig what you're saying. It's like obviously Brunson's been playing like a superstar player, and I also like what you're saying. That was against the Jazz, but I still think that CP3 is out there mainly for offense. Just defense isn't really. He's still a great defender, but also he can't get in foul trouble as well. So it's always interesting to see how these games are riffed as well, man. That's I could go on and on about the riffs, but that's another thing that I noticed. Refs call these games a lot different these days, man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, man, this is actually going towards the end of the show. I hate this part just because, man, I love chopping it up with you, especially when it comes to basketball and everything like that. So next section usually is Youcapper it, but I didn't get a video today that I really like. Hopefully tomorrow I get a good one. I got some guys sending me some hockey stuff. I don't really cap hockey. But, for me, like I mentioned in my tweets before, is I really want to help people's names get out there. Jay is one of the guys that kind of influenced me and helped me get my name out there as well. So this is me kind of giving back to a lot of the cappers out there. So hopefully tomorrow I'll have a Youcapper video. Other than that, I want to just recap real quick what we talked about during the show. We talked about Heat full game. I know you like them early and often. Did you go trifecta on them
No, I
or
didn't. No,
okay.
like I said, when I took them Heat -4 and money line, that was all that was available. You know, they don't have the
Yeah,
first quarter, first half ahead. These are playoff lines, guys. So
sure.
if you like something, you can go ahead and bet it. If I can, I know guys can where it's official, where you can actually can. So get
Yeah.
ahead of these lines, man. Especially you really liking some. Man, you never know what stuff can start getting pounded. But yeah,
Yeah.
I took them full game, but I still do like them first half to come out here and get a jump on them boys early and smack them up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we're aligned there on the Heat -7.5. I also had the Mavs Suns under 214.5, and then Brunson under 19.5 points on the prop section there. Man, Jay, this was dope. I hope we do this at least every week. I'm gonna
For
be on
sure.
your show on Thursday, if that's still lined up there. Man, I love this shit. Like I love doing the show. I'm glad I'm doing my own show because you really get to kind of just go with your own flow and
Right.
talk about the things that you want to talk about. But yeah, man, thank you so much for being on the show. Shout out to you for just being here, being who you are as a person. Man, I'm so glad I've been able to meet you in person as well. That was Vegas was live.
Yeah.
Hopefully we do that again in August if you're going down there. But yeah, so that was the recap. That was the show. Before we end, though, I just want to end on this note. Let me just remind you guys: you could fade or follow us. It's on you to make that call, right? You're pushing that button. We just want to give out the information. We just want to educate. All right. So fade or follow. Good luck on all your action. Till next time. Peace.